And now your host, Richard Thomas.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm especially excited about this episode because the producers have asked me to share some of my favorite stories and memories from the past 4 seasons, and there are plenty of them. But before we start looking back, I want to share a new story with you, one that when I first heard about it, instantly became a favorite of mine. And once you've seen it, you'll understand why. Three years after Kelly and Tom Feeney of Elizabeth, Colorado married, their dream of having a child came true. Kelly was pregnant.
It was fantastic. I was scared, I was happy, I was sad, I was everything that you could imagine. And Katie was born in April. And it was the happiest day of my life.
When I held Katie for the first time, it was really a joy. To think that God has given you this gift just filled me with joy.
And it wasn't long before they noticed that the gift they'd been given had a special gift of her own.
The first couple years with Katie, we noticed that she was very intelligent. She was just so in tune with people's feelings. One night we were watching television and we were talking about angels. So Kate, do you have an angel?
Yes.
You do? Who's your angel?
Grandpa Louie.
I said, oh really? And she said, yeah. When do you talk to Grandpa Louie?
In my dreams.
In your dreams. He comes to me at night and he tells me that everything will be okay.
He's fishing.
He's fishing?
She never met my dad. He passed away years before she was ever born. And she knew a lot of stuff about him.
Where's he fishing?
Up in the sky in heaven.
His fishing, his outdoor adventures. Those are things that only I would know.
But Katie's remarkable ability didn't stop there.
One day when Katie was about 3.5, I was taking her to preschool. And we were driving in the car and she looks at me and says,
Mommy, are you gonna have another baby?
oh honey, Mommy and Daddy aren't gonna have another baby. We have you, you're a handful, you're all we need.
But you have to have another baby.
Why?
Because when you and I go up to heaven, I'll be all alone.
I just thought to myself, where does a 3-year-old get that?
It wasn't until weeks later that the meaning of their conversation became clear.
I wasn't feeling real well, and I just thought it was a flu. I waited and took a pregnancy test. It came back positive. And I remember coming downstairs and we told Katie that she was going to have a little brother or sister. Mommy and Daddy want to tell you something. You're going to be a big sister. You're going to have a little baby brother or a little baby sister to help us take care of.
Mommy's gonna have 2.
No, Mommy's only going to have 1 baby. And we laughed it off and said, no, we're only having 1.
No, 2. 1 for me and 1 for you.
She was very insistent that we were going to have 2.
Do you know what you all are having?
No, we don't know.
Do you want to know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Twin boys.
And when the doctor confirmed that we were having twins, I started thinking, well, okay. First she tells me she wants us to have another baby. Then she tells me we're having twins. What else is she going to be able to tell me?
But even with her extraordinary gift, little Katie couldn't predict what would happen next.
Pregnancy went along, and one morning I woke up after Tom had left for work and I noticed that I'd been bleeding a little bit. And I called the hospital and they said, you need to come in.
And they started doing some tests on her, and they realized she was dilated.
Just 6 months into her pregnancy, Kelly had gone into labor.
Being that they were only 24 weeks old, I think we were all pretty nervous at that point.
Kelly was rushed to Denver's Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center, where Dr. Richard Perico would attempt to stop her premature labor.
We evaluated her with ultrasound and an amniocentesis, and unhappily found that there was an infection in the first twin, in twin A. Afraid to have some bad news. We've got footprints of organisms in this amniotic fluid. I think this pregnancy is infected. As a result, I had to tell Kelly and Tom that it would be in their best interest to have the pregnancy delivered. Really be a terrible event for you. We indicated that these twins would be extremely premature, sad as that is, and that the likelihood of survival was essentially zero. We'll get it done efficiently, and we'll keep the babies in
To them, it meant that an infection had settled in, and the medicine that they needed to treat me would harm the babies. And if they didn't treat me, it could harm me. And I may not survive.
Naturally, my first concern was for Kelly. The thought of losing her was very real. It scared me.
Okay.
The only choice we had was to deliver the babies at that point in time.
So we went ahead and made that difficult decision.
Once again, Katie seemed to know what was happening without even being there.
Hello?
Hi, Mommy.
Hi, honey. I remember Katie calling me that night before I delivered them, and she said, Mom.
Are we losing the babies?
And I tried to get her mind off that focus because I made it specifically clear to my parents, do not tell her that there's something wrong.
I miss you.
I think she just knows. I think she has a sense. I'll be home tomorrow. And so I thought, oh, how am I ever going to tell her? All right, I love you.
I love you too.
She was so looking forward to having a brother or a sister.
The difficult night passed into an agonizing day. No sooner had Kelly and Tom welcomed their twin sons into the world than it was time to say goodbye.
I held Andrew and Tom held Miles. And Andrew, being the bigger of the two, he lived for about an hour and a half after he was born. Miles only lived about 15 minutes.
The sound was just so heartbreaking, yet it was almost a struggle. He was trying to get through this. And I remember holding him for the longest time.
The hospital took pictures and made sure that we had mementos to remember them by. And it was just a good time for Tom and I to sit there and reflect and bond with them. They'll always be with us. They'll always be with us.
After the boys passed away, Kelly and I both felt an emptiness. Nothing was going to replace the boys. We all felt a tremendous loss. It was a very tough time right then for the both of us.
The Feeneys returned home, where Kelly spent her days inside, battling a severe depression.
There were days where I would just lay on my bed and hold a teddy bear. It was just a constant. It's like picking at a scab. It seems like it never healed.
Kelly?
Her closest friend, Barry Anderson, tried her best to comfort her.
Oh, Barry.
I went upstairs. Kelly was in the bed. We'll be okay. We'll get through this.
What am I gonna do?
And I just crawled in bed with her and we just held each other and cried. I promise you'll get through this. It was very difficult for me to watch Kelly take on all this hurt herself. Take care of yourself and I'll take care of everything else. I wish I could take the pain away and let her heal. But knowing that I could never take the pain away and knowing that I could never truly know how she felt, I could only be there for her.
With Barry's help, Kelly slowly began coping with her loss and soon realized she wasn't the only one struggling.
I remember Katie saying to me,
Mommy, I want to see the pictures of the babies.
and no one had told her that there were pictures. Oh, honey, there are no pictures of the babies. And she got very upset with me.
I know there is pictures,
I know there's pictures and I want to see the pictures.
but I know there is some pictures.
I mean, she was just very, very upset. So I dug through the pictures and I found one of the two of them together, and they were wrapped up in their little blankets with their hats on. Here's a picture of your little brothers you can have for your room, okay?
Thank you.
And she just treasured that. I mean, I think at that time, she could actually say that she had 2 little brothers.
Like her parents, Katie would have to find a way to say goodbye to her little brothers.
In honor of Andrew and Mom.
Tom and I decided that we didn't want a big blown-out affair, that we wanted something very simple and personal. And so we decided just to do a graveside service.
Andrew and Miles were only here for yet a brief time. The day before the service, Kelly says, "What am I going to do with Katie?" And I said, "Kel, I will take care of Katie." Balloons have become a ritual with my family.
Do you remember when Brendan talks to his grandpa up in heaven?
And at the end of the service, I explained to her that these balloons will be going to heaven, where her brothers are.
By sending the balloons up there, you can talk to your brothers.
I thought that would be a wonderful way for Katie to have some type of healing.
That's for Andrew, and that's for Miles.
She was very excited. She kissed the balloons and said she was sending kisses and loves to her brothers.
Andrew, Miles, I love you forever.
Let them go. She let the balloons go, and we watched them go up and up and up.
They'll make it all the way up to heaven.
She thought they are truly going to heaven.
I watched him float until the clouds were in the way and I couldn't see him anymore. I felt really happy inside, and I didn't really feel bad anymore that they died. So I just started looking on the bright side, and then I was happy.
Katie's balloons were both a link to her brothers and a big step in letting them go. But for her mother, healing would prove much more difficult.
The months following the twins' passing was a roller coaster. Having to go back to work and having people ask you, "Oh, how are the babies?" And then having to relive it over and over again. I'm normally a very happy person, always have a smile on my face, and I never thought I'd smile again.
But gradually, Kelly's smile did return, due in no small part to her daughter, Katie.
For her 5th birthday, after her birthday party, she had leftover balloons, and she wanted to take them out and let them go to heaven so that Andrew and Miles could celebrate with her. So we took the handful of balloons and she kissed each one of them.
Andrew and Miles, I love you forever.
And off they went. That was kind of her way of celebrating her birthday with them. And a few days later, I went to the cemetery. And walking up there, looking at the gravesite, I noticed that there was something laying next to the marker. And when I got up there were the balloons. And I thought, wow, I just was in amazement. And I thought, I can't tell anyone this story because they'll never believe me.
But it was true. Katie's birthday balloons had actually found their way to the twins.
Those are the balloons that you let go.
And they came back?
It's a miracle.
To my little brother.
You have this feeling inside of you just to know that something that traveled that far and end up in that special place. It kind of put a chill through you. I think with the special connection that Katie has and the special little girl that she is, sending those balloons to her brothers, I think that the boys sent back a little message to her and us that they're okay.
I've always known that Katie was special. I just never knew how special she was. I have to believe that Katie has a sense. Because when you look at her knowing that I was having twins,
We're gonna have 2 babies.
her calling me in the hospital,
Are we losing the babies?
her knowing there were pictures,
I know there is some pictures.
the balloons at the gravesite, just looking at all of that, it's not a coincidence. It doesn't make sense that she would know all of this stuff. And she does. She has the sense. And luckily, she shares it with us.
For Kelly, discovering the balloons at the twins' gravesite did more than confirm Katie's gift.
When I saw the balloons lying there, I was at peace. I knew that we were moving on, that was my stepping stone to really being okay. And I thought, you know what? We need another member of this family.
In October of 1997, Kelly experienced another miracle when she gave birth to a son, Patrick.
He came out just screaming and bringing us more joy than we would ever think. You love him? Are you happy? Katie was so happy that everything was okay, that she actually had a baby brother that she could hold.
And when I got to hold him, he was just so cuddly and soft. It made me feel really good inside.
1, 2, go get Sissy.
And 4 years later, their relationship continues to be a happy one.
He is all boy. His big sister loves him to death. She is the big sister. She takes care of him and she helps him, and he's a little brother. But he's a joy.
Like sister, like brother.
And looking back at it, had I not experienced what I did with Andrew and Miles, I would have never had Patrick. And I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason. And Katie, her strength, her love, I couldn't have done it without her.
Come on, bud.
We're here to live and love and create. And I've created. And I'm very blessed.
Long day.
Since PAX first began airing It's a Miracle in 1998, it's attracted the attention of other popular television programs. One of our biggest fans is talk show host Montel Williams, and one of my favorite assignments is being a guest on his show. It's a great opportunity for me to experience firsthand just how much miracles mean to the average television viewer.
Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. You know, do you believe, here's a really odd question. I'm going to ask everybody in this audience that, and I want you just to yell out yes if you do. Do you believe in miracles, yes or no? Yes! All the no's say it. Oh, really? So I wonder what people are saying at home right now. If you're one of those people who said no at home, I'll guarantee you that by the end of this hour, we may change your mind. And to help us do that, please welcome actor and host of the weekly series, It's a Miracle, that airs on PAX Television Network, Mr. Richard Thomas. Welcome him to the show. Richard, how are you, sir? So good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Your show airs every single Thursday evening at 8 p.m. on PAX Television Network. How did this come about? Do you enjoy it? What's going on?
I love it. I
really?
absolutely love it. They came to me at PAX and they said, we want to do a show about miracles. And I said, well, what kind of miracles? They said, well, just extraordinary, unexplainable, amazing things that have happened to change people's lives for the better. And I thought, well, that's great, but no one wants to see that on TV these days, do they?
And now you're finding out that everybody wants to see that.
I mean, people come up to me in the parking lot at my local grocery store to tell me the extraordinary things that have happened to them. And yeah, the country's really embraced it, and it's a wonderful thing. I mean, I was out there, I heard you poll them, and who do you believe, do you not believe?
Isn't that amazing? Because in the last 10, 15 years ago, I could have asked the same question 10 years ago, and I would guarantee that half of you would have said, I believe. The other half would have said, adamantly, you do not. Our first story is called The Miracle Reunion. Now, Richard, why don't you set this up for us?
Well, this is kind of a story about being in the right place at the right time. I mean, everyone's had that experience. This started out kind of with being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it's also a love story. A lot of our stories are love stories, and I think it just proves that love knows no bounds.
And will conquer all.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the tape.
When Elsa Amador was 12 years old, living in Puerto Rico, she met a young boy, the son of Roberto Clemente, a legendary baseball player who had been tragically killed in a plane crash. Elsa and Roberto Jr. instantly felt a strong attraction to each other.
We told each other we loved each other every day. Yeah. I mean, every day, like 25 times a day.
In spite of their tender age, Roberto and Elsa believed they would spend their lives together. But a tragic event tore them apart. Elsa's father was the innocent victim of a botched robbery attempt, and now his family was in extreme danger.
Elsa, come on, now.
Elsa's mother had identified the man who killed her husband and was receiving death threats. The FBI moved in to take control of the situation. Elsa had only enough time to call Roberto before she and her family were rushed out of the country into the witness protection program.
I explained to him that we had to leave, and unfortunately I couldn't tell him where I was going. I just kept telling him how much I cared for him and not to blame me for what I was going to do, that it was out of my control.
Elsa spent the next few years moving around the United States, but she never forgot her childhood sweetheart.
I thought about him all the time, and I sometimes closed my eyes and I would see an image of him. He was really thin and tall and just smiling all the time. As time went on, you sort of assumed that, they have his own life now. I just imagined him, settled, married.
In November of 1996, Elsa's mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. She had always felt responsible for separating her daughter from her childhood sweetheart, and on her deathbed she made a startling request, urging her to find her lost love.
Find Roberto. He's the man for you.
And I'm like, how am I going to find him? And she's like, you should find him. And so I kind of brushed it off.
And then, a few months after her mother's death, Elsa had a sudden, unexplainable urge to attend a Yankees baseball game.
It was something that was just pushing me. It was like this pushing thing.
Whatever was pushing Elsa to the stadium got her there an hour early that day, in time for a pre-game event. The Yankees were celebrating Hispanic Heritage Day, and there, center field, accepting an award for his father, was Elsa's long-lost love, Roberto Clemente Jr.
It was really strange. What is he doing there? I'm like, you figured you don't see him for all these years, and then all of a sudden you see him at the park.
Elsa spent the next 9 innings of the game desperately trying to locate Roberto, but without success. The boy she had never forgotten, the man her mother begged her to find, was closer than he'd ever been in over 15 years, and still he was out of reach. Finally, a security guard gave her a possible lead, the number of a local sports cafe. Elsa called and left a message, and the next day, Roberto returned the call and arranged to meet again the woman he had been separated from years ago.
I felt like I had just seen her yesterday, just been with her in school the day before. The feelings that I had for Elsa were so strong, and my friends, everybody knew about Elsa. So it was something that, I always kept her alive in my heart.
Today, they still marvel over how powers far beyond their own made the dying wish of Elsa's mother come true.
I truly believe that our parents had a little meeting in heaven. I said, wait a second, let's do something here. I believe that it was meant to be, and I truly believe it was a time where our parents' souls just got together and said, look, let's just make these 2 poor children happy.
For Roberto and Elsa, a tragic separation has ended happily, with a miraculous second chance.
And Richard, that second chance has culminated in a marriage.
Absolutely. They were married on Valentine's Day in '98.
Is that amazing?
For me, one of the best parts of this show is sitting here and meeting the people featured in our stories. It gives me a chance to catch up on what's happened in their lives and to hear what they have to say about the miracles they've experienced. However, when you put an animal into this equation, well, it changes everything, and anything can happen. I know when my little boy sees this story, he's going to want a horse just like Gabriel for Christmas. But Gabriel's really one of a kind, and he joins us now, along with the Prine family from their farm in Hammondsport, New York. Hey, everyone.
Hi, Richard. Hi.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm great. How's Gabriel?
Oh, he's doing great. You can see he's feeling his oats tonight.
He looks like a handful. You trying to train him, Catherine?
Well, basically we're just trying to get him to lead around with a halter. I plan on training him to pull a cart and eventually riding.
I also hear that because of your experience with Gabriel, you're going to train to be a veterinarian.
Yeah, I want to become a vet to basically help animals like Gabriel, to help them live through times that are bad.
Well, you sure can't tell from looking at him the hard times he's been through.
Oh, he's really doing fantastic. We've built a special paddock for him that he stays in with his mother, Spitfire. And they eat together and run together and play together, and you can see he's got lots of energy.
Hey, babe.
But it's a pretty safe paddock, and it's designed to be safe for him. And he's doing great, just fantastic.
Well, he's a special Christmas gift to all of us, and I want to thank you for sharing him with us this Christmas season.
Well, it's our pleasure, Richard, and I think our whole family has enjoyed this opportunity to share Gabriel's story, and I hope you're getting some good video of him there at your site, because he's one active boy.
Well, you guys take care. It was nice meeting you.
You too, Richard. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. If you think that interview was difficult, you ain't seen nothing yet. About 2 years ago, while we were on location in England, I met a parrot named Sonny who'd saved a man's life by calling for help over and over again. But when it actually came time for Sonny to talk to me, well, take a look. Well, it's time to speak to the hero himself. So joining us now from the Broadway Caravan Park are Sonny and Sam. Welcome to It's a Miracle.
Hello, Richard, and hello from Sonny as well.
He won't say hello himself? I guess he's a bird of few words.
He's got a very wide vocabulary, but I'm not sure he's going to say anything just yet.
Not even hello?
Say something, Sonny. Hello. Hello. A little dance, maybe.
Well, luckily for Richard Stone, he wasn't always so tight-lipped. He has nothing at all to say about what happened.
Do you want to say something, Sonny? No? Okay.
You know, now that I see how silent he can be, what Sonny did that day seems even more miraculous.
Let's see if we can get him to say something. Sonny, say something. Hey. No, he's not going to say anything today.
That's okay. He said enough when it counted. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Do you want to say goodbye, Sonny? Say goodbye. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Since I first began hosting It's a Miracle, we've presented over 300 stories on this show, and to pick a favorite is no easy task. However, there is one story that stands out for me, and I think it's especially timely today, as it takes a hard look at bigotry and religious persecution, and it provides an important lesson for us all. In June of 1991, Michael and Julie Weiser moved into a new home in Lincoln, Nebraska. Michael was the cantor at the local Jewish synagogue, his wife a part-time nurse. Together, they looked forward to living in a new neighborhood among new families and friends. A few days after their arrival, they received a disturbing message.
And the voice on the other end of the phone said, "You'll be sorry you ever moved into this neighborhood."
The anonymous caller made ugly, abusive references to the Weisers' Jewish background.
I knew something was wrong because he looked like someone had slapped him in the face. I was extremely upset and concerned because we had just purchased this home, and I thought maybe there was someone in the neighborhood who didn't want us to be living in the neighborhood because we were Jewish.
A few days later, the Weisers received a thick manila envelope in the mail with no return address.
And when I opened it, it was filled with all of this hate literature And on the top there was a calling card that said, "The KKK is watching you, scum." It was unbelievable. Michael and I were just appalled and really very afraid.
The thing that scared me the most was that I knew that people who have this kind of material are dangerous people.
The Weissers wasted no time in calling the local authorities. One look at the material and they knew who had sent it: Larry Trapp. Trapp was a notorious racist and bigot, the Grand Dragon of Nebraska's Ku Klux Klan.
White power!
He supported a white supremacy movement that targeted blacks, Asians, and Jews. For years, he had terrorized the local population and was suspected of masterminding assassination plots, arson fires, and racially motivated violence. He had even once threatened to bomb the very synagogue where Michael Weisser now served as cantor. A diabetic since childhood, his disease eventually left him a double amputee. Working out of his wheelchair, his hate and venom was a danger to everyone in the community. With a stockpile of weapons and surrounded by Nazi regalia, his attention was now focused on the Weissers, and he was capable of anything. But Michael Weisser refused to be just another victim. He decided to call Larry personally, but only reached his answering machine and an 11-minute hate-filled message.
You people believe everything that's said against the white race by the media.
It seemed interminably long with this vicious anti-black, anti-Asian sort of rhetoric. And I listened to the whole thing, and I was really stunned that this was there.
After calling the number several more times, Michael finally left his own message.
I think the message was something like, "Larry, you're going to be sorry that you're doing all of these hateful things."
Because everybody has to answer to God at some time. Even you.
And that felt pretty good. And so I decided I would continue to do that. And I did continue to do that for almost 4 months, every week. Left Larry little love notes on his answering machine.
He really tried to say things to Larry that would shake him up a little bit and make him realize that there was another real person on the other end of the phone.
And then one day, Trapp answered the phone himself.
Instead of the answering machine, I got this hateful voice.
Hello, Larry.
Why do you keep calling here? Do you know this is harassment? I could have you arrested!
And I said, "I don't want to harass you, Larry. I just want to talk to you."
You want to talk to me about?
And so I said to Larry, "Well, I know you're a disabled person, Larry. I thought you might need a ride to the grocery."
Yeah, well, I already have that taken care of. But thanks anyway.
He was like a different person. He knew by that time who I was. He knew it was this Jewish guy. And he said, "Thanks anyway." It was an amazing thing.
Not long after, Cantor Weisser led his congregation in a prayer for Larry Trapp to end his hatred and bigotry.
There's a teaching that the highest thing a person can do is to make an enemy into a friend. And I think somehow in the back of my mind, I was trying to do that with Larry.
The next evening, the phone rang at the Weissers' home.
Hello? Hello? Is the rabbi there?
Michael, it's Larry Trapp.
Hello?
Hello.
And he said with a very quiet, soft kind of voice, "I want to get out, and I don't know how." And I said, "Larry, do you want to talk about this tonight?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "We'll be over. I'll see you in a little while."
At the last moment, Julie decided to bring Trapp a gift.
Wait just a minute. I want to get Larry.
I wanted to take him a gift because I decided that he was probably just as leery of us as we were of him.
Searching for something appropriate, she found a silver ring of intertwining strands she had bought for Michael 2 years earlier. Michael liked it, but seldom wore it.
I used to think of it as the brotherhood ring. It's ironic because of the strands of silver representing the different kinds of people.
That night, Julie and Michael left the safety of their own home to enter the private world of the man who hated them.
What happened next was a very intense few moments.
I reached out my hand and shook Larry's hand.
Hello, Larry.
I knew that something important was happening.
The moment their hands touched, Larry began trembling, like a strong electrical current was flowing through his body.
Larry was wearing 2 swastika rings, which he began pulling off.
I can't wear them anymore.
Larry told them that the night before he called, the rings started burning on his fingers.
What's going on here?
It was at exactly the same time that Cantor Weiser's congregation was praying for him.
And he said, would you take these away from me? They are nothing but trouble. Would you take them out of my life? And so I put them in my pocket.
Please take them.
Okay, Larry. Julie suddenly realized the significance of the gift she had brought for him.
I had this ring in my pocket, and I told him that I would like him to have this ring, that we brought it to him as a gift.
Larry touched the friendship ring and broke down in tears.
We were all crying. Larry was crying. Michael and I began to cry. Larry said that he couldn't believe how he had treated us and that he was very sorry for what he had done. And he asked us if we would forgive him.
I think Larry's transformation was instantaneous. That it happened as we touched hands. That it was complete, it was total, and it was amazing.
Before Michael and Julie left that night, they took with them a carload of Ku Klux Klan propaganda and Trapp's pledge to renounce his past. Larry kept his promise, resigning from the KKK and even speaking out publicly on racism with his former enemy Michael Weiser by his side. Shortly after his public apology, Larry Trapp became terminally ill. Having alienated all the people he used to call friends, Larry had nowhere to turn. But the Weisers, who had opened their hearts to this unfortunate man, now opened their home. He would live with them until he died.
What it did for me, and what it did for Michael, and what it did for our children, and what it did for people who heard about this was really remarkable. And it makes me really glad it happened.
From a telephone call that caught him off guard.
I already have that taken care of. But thanks anyway.
To the power of a simple handshake, Larry Trapp's life was taking a miraculous journey. Before he died on September 6, 1992, the former neo-Nazi, the man who had terrorized an entire community, spreading hate and violence against Asians, blacks, and Jews, took one more step towards salvation. This godless man converted to Judaism.
I believe the power of love is immense, and love can even take a hateful person like Larry Trapp was and turn him into a really good guy. Miracles do happen, and I'm convinced that this was one of them.
Grant perfect rest unto the soul of Larry Trapp.
Larry's memorial service was held in the very temple he had once threatened to bomb.
Almost everything that happened with Larry was miraculous. The idea that this Jewish family who he had threatened and who he hated, that he would end up living in our home and that he would end up dying in our home with Michael and I holding his hand and with him at his bedside when he took his last breath is pretty miraculous.
I've always thought it was a really interesting thing that his tombstone is directly across from another tombstone that reads friend. And that's what Larry turned out to be, a friend and a member of the family.
That's our show for now. I hope you enjoyed my favorite moments as much as I enjoyed being a part of them. And as always, it's our hope that whenever you need one, you'll find a miracle in your life too. Until next time, I'm Richard Thomas. Goodbye.